Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
You know, I consider myself a pretty mild-mannered individual. And I try to stay pretty rational most of the time. Even when dumb things happen, like I can usually see where things, make sense, or I can see kind of the broader picture of things. But I gotta tell you, Jay, after the past week of tomfoolery in the Supreme Court of the United States, to paraphrase Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'm ready to march down to fucking Washington, D.C. and burn that sumbitch to the ground.
Wow, Brad.
Can
you say that on the show? It seems radical. It seems like a radical statement. And I'd like to just distance myself in an FBI sort of situation.
Yeah, for any FBI agents listening, I mean that figuratively, not literally, but also literally. But I'm also not going to do anything about it, so it's figurative.
Fair enough.
But just know, in a world without consequences, that's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now, Brad, it's weird that you would say that because the Supreme Court has been nothing but reasonable this past week, which we'll talk about.
Just calling balls and strikes, calling it like they see it, absent of partisan politics.
Yeah, balls, strikes, home runs, field goals, whatever. I don't know what sport they're even playing. I'm not sure they know anymore. Some of it, I'm not exactly that. I don't think it's that crazy. Some of it I don't think is that crazy. But a lot of it I do, incidentally.
Yeah.
So we're gonna jump right into that. But what I will say though is just to start the episode off. Dude, I told you. Didn't I tell you last week that I felt like there was a lot of shit brewing and sure as shit. I would. This is the worst, dude. I told you because this is a shit week. Like it really is. It's insane. But I just felt like it was mostly shit. It was way too quiet last week.
Mostly shit. There's some undercurrents later in the show of some more positive news. That we'll get to. But yes, to start it off, major shit. Absolutely. Major shit in the Supreme Court. Jay, here's before actually, you know what? Set the table, talk about the story, and then I will put this into perspective for all the listeners out there.
Brad's shadow boxing right now. I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
So basically the Supreme Court came down and said, listen, in Trump's immunity claim, right, where he was like, what was it? He has like, I don't even remember the term. It was like unabashed immunity or some fucking insane thought process that, hey man, he gets to do whatever he wants. So forever. And so it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And so he has this level of immunity, right? And so this was the thing that Jack Smith was like, question, Supreme Court, the fuck are we doing here? We have to, in order to, move forward with any of these cases, we need to know, does this asshole in fact have?
That's a great point. It's a great point to start with. Because remember, you might not, because it's several months ago, back in December, when Trump appealed the decision by Judge Chutkan to be like, no, you don't have immunity for the rest of your life for stuff you did as president, because that's not the way the country works. And they appealed that. Jack Smith, before the D.C. Circuit heard the appeal, went to the Supreme Court and was like, look, we both know that this is going to end up in your lap anyway.
Yep.
Let's just save everybody some time and just kick it right up to you guys, because because this is a really important case that needs to be heard quick. And the Supreme Court came back to him and said, no. Let's go through the normal course of appeals. Let's let the D.C. Circuit hear it, and then we'll look at their judgment, and we'll see if we need to take up the case or not. It was their response to him.
Right. That was a move, right? It is only designed from a conservative perspective for the conservative members of the court. It is only designed to draw things out longer and longer. Well, let's let it go through the courts. Blah 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 blah. They already had the decisions written months ago, right? They already know which way they're coming down on this, but they want to draw it out and draw it out and draw it out, and that's what they did. And then Now they're finally saying, yeah, we'll take it up in trial, which they shouldn't have. They should have just dismissed it immediately. It's ridiculous. But now we'll take it up in trial, which is what Trump wants. But of course, we're not going to take it up in trial next week, baby. We're busy. I got Harlan Crow's boat to get on. I don't have time for this. So we're going to delay it till after the election.
Not till after the election.
Or excuse me, June.
No.
Right? Is it June?
No, April. April is when they're going to hear it, and then their decision will be released by June at the latest, because that's when the term ends.
Right.
Thus
not giving Americans enough time to sit with this and let the regular case go forward and let this shit actually get done.
So here are some things. So the Supreme Court obviously didn't think that evaluating whether the president of the United States does or does not have lifetime immunity from things he did in office, they didn't warrant that as something that needed to be expedited. Well, I guess this is technically expedited because normally they take several months to hear cases. So this is still technically expedited according to their schedule, but they didn't grant it cert before judgment, which would have bypassed the appeals process. Here are some things that this Supreme Court did feel warranted cert before judgment and needed to skip the appeals court so that they could hear it directly. Whether or not Trump should be on the ballot for insurrection or not, which, okay, I agree. Yeah, that needs to be heard fast. I'm not going to disagree with that. But whether or not mifepristone is legal, that needed cert before judgment, because that's a huge fucking deal.
Right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, whether or not landlords would be okay when the president decided, oh, you know what, we're not going to have evictions while COVID's going on. And landlords oh, this is real bad. The Supreme Court's yeah, we got to defend the landlords. Get this up to us right away. What else? Oh, let's see. Canceling student loan debt was something that the Supreme Court needed to take up immediately. Otherwise, the country would fall apart if they couldn't rule on student loan debt cancellation straight away.
Yeah.
All of these things, Jay, more important than does the president, who's running to be president again,
have lifetime immunity
for crimes that he committed whilst in the Oval Office.
Look, I think I want to have the level of anger that this warrants, but I don't, because I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? I think if we all thought that we had a Supreme Court that was going to be well, yeah, dude, of course he doesn't have lifetime immunity. That's insane. Or it's not even that it's insane, that it's not even debatable, right? Because the argument should be that it's not debatable.
Yeah, hey, you could have just said, hey, the lower court decision is 100% correct. We're not going to waste our time.
Right. Because what you're arguing here is that you believe that there is a possibility as a Supreme Court of these United States that a president is a king for life. We know from Basic Civics 101, when you stop being the president, you become an American citizen. That's why you have all of the same. You're not riding on Air Force One. You're not referred to as the current president. You do not have the powers of the presidency. You can't just walk into the White House and do whatever the fuck you want. You are an American citizen now. Now, do you have some benefits of being an ex-president? Of course. If you're a former senator, you have certain benefits. But it doesn't mean you can just walk into the fucking archives and start picking shit out that you want to read. We know this. This is a logical and understandably simple statement. But what they're doing is pretending that there is a possibility. Now, do I know which way they're going to rule? I actually don't. Because I think that there is a very real possibility that if when this gets to the Supreme Court, they just drag it out and go, yeah, he actually doesn't have it. But by that time, you can't get Jack Smith's cases moving fast enough, so it doesn't fucking matter, right? And all you're then praying is that Trump wins, right? If you're the conservative justices, you're like, I mean, not that they really give a fuck or have to, but like,
no, they do. Thomas and Alito would love to retire. They certainly don't want to do it if Joe Biden's the fucking president. I can tell you that.
Right. So like, you have to wonder if they are actually going to do that. Because like anybody who's telling you like they're definitely going to rule that he has this immunity and stuff like that, I think that's a dangerous game to play. Like I don't think we actually know that. Because again, if you say that, what does that say for every president, right? That means you have to then give that power to Joe Biden, Barack Obama. Look, not that they're going to suddenly start doing crimes and shit, but that means that you leave no space for any argument against a president that you don't like. You have no space. You've opened it up to, they get to do whatever the fuck they want. They literally get to do whatever they want. And I don't think even Republicans on the SCOTUS are like, how do we carve out that like Republicans can do whatever they want, but Democrats can't? And in this case, if you rule with him on this, that has to be a carte blanche situation. And it's not. Like it's impossible.
Put the eventual ruling, no matter which way it goes, to the side. And I agree with you, by the way. Like every legal expert has been completely wrong in their predictions of how this was going to shake out, because they're still basing it on the logic of the Supreme Court is still this nonpartisan actor that exists in their space, and that's my bigger issue with it is that I personally. I personally don't think like I'm not saying it's going to be like 9-0, but I don't think that they're going to be like, the president can just get immunity forever for stuff that he did while he was in the White House. I don't think it's going to happen. But the issue, the partisanship has been in the delay. It was in not granting cert before judgment in the first place with this case. It was in dragging their feet to even issue the decision on whether or not they were going to hear the case. It's waiting 7 weeks to hear the case. By the way, after they pass down their judgment, they then have to give it to the lower court, in this case, Judge Chutkan, in writing, which they have up to 30 days to do after the judgment has been made available to the public. So that's another potential 30-day delay. And
no. I disagree with that. It's not a potential. Yeah. They will drag it to day 29, 100%. 100%. Yes.
That's the political hack move that this Supreme Court has done. So again, we've said this before. I meant it before. I really fucking mean it now. We need to stop treating the Supreme Court as if it's not a political arm of the federal government. It stopped being a political arm of it stopped being a nonpartisan arm of the federal government in the year 2000. That's when that stopped. As soon as Bush v. Gore happened, that's when the Supreme Court became a partisan institution. And so if they're going to act like a partisan institution, we need to start treating them like a partisan institution. That means term limits. That means court expansion. That means thinking outside the box of ways to, if either we allow the Supreme Court to be this pendulum, this football that gets passed back and forth depending on which party's in power. I don't think that's a good idea, by the way. Or we think of some outside of the box solutions to actually get these justices rotated, to actually get new blood in there a lot of the time, and to actually structure the court in such a way that other federal institutions are structured to be even and fair across the political spectrum, because there's a lot of institutions in the government that fucking realize, holy shit, it's not a good idea for this shit to keep going back and forth depending on who's in office right now. So let's actually set the fucking guardrails in place so that this institution has a chance, has at least the semblance of being fucking nonpartisan. Like, you need to literally set the Supreme Court up at this point where it's like, all right, you got 4 Democrats, you got 4 Republicans, and you got 3 people who the two sides have to agree to put in the central position. That way we always have this 3-group panel of judges that are truly as nonpartisan as you can be, and then we can actually make fucking decisions that make sense in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, agreed.
That's what you fucking have to do at this point. And you have to institute term limits because fucking Clarence Thomas and his fucking old ass, who's been there for fucking 33 years at this point. I don't even fucking know. He shouldn't be there anymore. You're done. You're done. Go home with your dumb wife driving your fucking RV across the fucking country. Take John Oliver's money and go fuck off somewhere. Because we're fucking done with you.
Well, like just this week, he's hiring a clerk who literally is on record sending like text messages that say, "quote I hate black people."
Well, coincidentally, so is Clarence Thomas. So that makes sense.
I mean, hey.
Am I allowed to say that? I don't know, but I just fucking said it.
No, I mean, you are allowed to say that because he does. Like, I mean, this is a show for truth. Look, Clarence Thomas is one of the most reprehensible fucking people of all time. Like, he just is. Like in the modern era of politics, he just is. And what drives me crazy is he pretends to be stupid. He's not stupid. Like, he's not. He's really not dumb. He just sits there and goes, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, dude, don't do that. Like, you're not an idiot, right? But yeah, he's hiring somebody who's literally openly racist, but he doesn't give a fuck because he's got his nut already, right? He's got this great cushy job. He's ruling on a case. He's ruling on a case with a president who is up for a question of immunity around January 6th. His wife was involved in January 6th. Why is he not recusing himself? Because we never put to your point, we never put the guardrails in that these guys are required. There's a panel that looks at them and goes, you're required to recuse yourself. Like, you don't get to self-choose that. We could self-regulate. The Supreme Court could self-regulate before it became a bunch of partisan fucking hacks. And since that happened, like you said, since 2000, and probably before that, but it's really fucking obvious now. It's really obvious in the year 2000 and forward. It is impossible. If you know for a fact, if you got a panel of fucking super detectives, look, frankly, just hire the people who work on the John Oliver show and the people who work on the Daily Show, because they can find tapes and information about people from 25 years ago, and they are great investigative journalists. Hire people of that caliber. I'm not really saying them, but of that caliber to go in, and they are an independent panel. The Democrats, Republicans, independents, I don't give a shit. But it's an independent panel. And when every single case is taken up, they look through every ounce of information they can on each justice to see if they have a level of connection. And if they do, if it meets whatever threshold that is a definitive answer, right? That we know we can look at a fucking rubric and go, you meet these 5 criteria, that is enough. I don't want the handshake deal bullshit. This is no longer the 1400s. We need real fucking solutions. If you have that and you say, hey man, Clarence Thomas, you're friends with this person, right? Which, like, maybe that's a big deal, maybe it's not. You have business dealings with this person. You have financial entanglements with this person. You are married to somebody involved in this case, or you're related to somebody who's directly involved in this case or interactions in this case. You meet the 5 criteria, or 3 out of the 5 or whatever. You have to recuse yourself from this. That's what the Supreme Court should be. It shouldn't be Clarence Thomas. Dude, your wife is involved in this shit. She's sending text messages talking about we need to go save the president.
Don't worry. I can be objective. Trust me.
How could you be? Right. How could you be? So it's, to me, you're absolutely right. We are long past a situation where we can trust the Supreme Court to do the right things. This is not a question of balls and strikes anymore. They're not doing it. And you can even disagree with this case and say they should take it up. You can disagree with that. Okay. We just agree to disagree. But what you cannot say is that Clarence Thomas should be on the case talking about January 6th. That makes no sense. You could even say January 6th was justified. And again, I think that's crazy. But his wife is involved in it. Surely he cannot be an arbiter of fairness in that. Hey, I think all the people involved in January 6th are fucking terrorists. Clarence, what do you think? Well, no. I think they're great. And I think they make a really good apple pie on Sunday nights together. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's not That's not a fair and reasonable assessment. And nobody of any legal understanding thinks that that's fair. Nobody, unless you're some sort of, again, partisan fucking hack that is trying to just justify it. Nobody believes that. So to your point, there's no guardrails, and there needs to be. I think you're 100% right. If it's going to be a partisan part of the government, then it has to be treated like one. I 100%.
And again, like I'm sympathetic somewhat to like the liberal justices in the minority on the court, because I understand they don't want to make waves, because they think if they make waves, then the few times where they can pull Republicans from the brink on some stuff that it's going to cause trouble. At this point, fucking go for broke, man. Who gives a shit? Fucking Elena Kagan just come out and just fucking just call it like we're all seeing it, because we know you see it too. We're not stupid. We see the cries for help in those dissents that are being written right now.
Yeah. Am I the only? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, right? Like they're just screaming.
Because I'll tell you what, if you truly want serious public scrutiny and serious scrutiny from other lawmakers on the Supreme Court, having someone inside the House coming out and be like, "What's going on here is fucked up," would actually move the needle in a way that nothing else could. The fact that you keep this like fucking veil of secrecy around the court's dealings exacerbates the problem.
Yeah. It's just insane. It's just fucking insane to me. All right. That was a hell of a start, Brad. Good job. Let's continue with the SCOTUS.
And what's funny? I don't even disagree with this decision that they made.
Either.
Honestly, it's just like
I want to hate it,
but no, you think I'd be mad about this? Now I disagree with part of it, and we'll talk about that in a second.
I disagree with the conservative, the four conservatives, who basically said like their reasoning behind it. But I 100%, and look, this was unanimous, right? So you even had Democrats come out for the liberal folks come out for this. I mean, they're Democrats. Let's get real. But they also, they sided with conservatives, but their reasoning is different. And look, I actually agree with their reasoning. So yeah, I like even in the most mundane of ways, Republicans continue to fuck it up. So yeah, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously, which never happens anymore. That Trump cannot be removed from the ballot in these states, Colorado specifically, but this is going to spread out across those other cases as well. So he has to get put back onto the primary for these. Look, it's basically their argument. The conservative argument is because
let's start at the overarching argument, because the reason why it's 9-0 is because all the justices agreed that it's not legal for states to just be able to unilaterally remove candidates from the ballot at their whim. That's kind of the point they were getting at, which again, it does make sense, because if you let Colorado and Maine and Minnesota do this to Trump, then sure as shit in the next election when Gavin Newsom runs, fucking there's going to be a ton of conservative states that do the same thing for no reason other than they just don't like the fucking guy. So
yeah, exactly. And there's a quote from the ruling, because the Constitution makes Congress rather than the states responsible for enforcing Section 3 of the 14th Amendment against all federal office holders and candidates, we reverse. So they're basically saying this is Congress's job. This is not the state's job to remove someone from the ballot. Jamie Raskin came out today and was like, bet I'm going to put together a thing.
Yeah.
In Congress. Look, I love Jamie Raskin. I do. From a great state. Also, I know you're in remission. I do. I'm going to need you to bring back the do-rag, though. I'm just going to need you to bring it back.
Just permanently.
Yeah, dude, you look like a badass. And, you're up there calling Trump out with a purple do-rag. I'm like, is this guy in a gang? What is happening? It was awesome. And I'm glad you're well. So, but here's the thing. That's not going to work. right? Like that's kind of a senatorial pity party as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't really do anything. We all know it's not going to pass. Like the Senate's not going to be like, oh yeah, all right, fucking like fuck that guy. Like yeah, let's kick him off. So like ultimately, I do agree that it's kind of a disaster if you allow it. Now, do I mind the sound reasoning that Colorado gave because like he was involved in an insurrection? Yes. The problem is that's not how it's going to play out in reality. In reality, it's like you said, Republicans will be like, well, I didn't like how the price of avocados in California, what they cost when Gavin Newsom was governor. So fuck that guy. Let's take him off the ballot in Texas or whatever because we can, right? Like will be their reasoning. So unfortunately, as much as I do agree with the reasoning, I do think it should be more of a congressional situation. Now, I also know that that's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen with that.
Well, so here's where the conservatives and the liberals plus Amy Coney Barrett of all people, for some reason, here's where they split. So conservatives, the conservative majority on the court said that it was the sole responsibility of Congress to decide whether or not someone is ineligible according to the 14th Amendment. Now, there's nothing fucking in the 14th Amendment that would suggest that that's the case. In fact, there's a blurb in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that says Congress can reverse the decision to remove a candidate from serving based on a 2/3 vote. But it doesn't say anything about Congress affirmatively, proactively saying, hey, this needs to happen. Now, where Barrett and the liberals differed is that they think that, states should not unilaterally be able to do this, but there could potentially be other mechanisms where a candidate could be removed. Like, for example, if he was federally convicted of supporting an insurrection. At that point, they're like, hey, you shouldn't need Congress to do this. He's been convicted by the federal government to be guilty in this. Now, the liberals did a great job of emphasizing this point. Amy Coney Barrett, despite agreeing with the liberals, took her opportunity to write an additional dissent, shitting on the liberals for being mad about how the conservatives were framing this issue.
Can't help herself.
I agree with you, but I'm wagging my finger at you.
Right.
You dirty liberals.
Right. Like, go back to your cult. Get out of here. So like it's a weird stance, right? To take out. It's a weird stance to take the opposite of what the liberals are saying here because and it's not just because we're also liberals. It's just because from a logic perspective, the opposite doesn't follow, right?
Yeah.
If you're saying, okay, hey man, if the guy is convicted of an insurrection, the courts are saying that he's convicted. Like, we're all in the legal system here. We're the Supreme Court. Like, we're at the top of the legal system. If the legal system says this guy or this woman has been responsible for being involved in an insurrection, full stop. We're done. Like, we're done here.
Yeah.
It's over, right? That means that Congress, or in my opinion, then the states should absolutely be able to say it, right? Like
they have something to point to that's fact based,
right? They don't. It's not an opinion at that point. It's right there, right there. It's in the federal legal system. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him, right? Like, so
okay. Good news, buddy. Since stare decisis isn't a thing anymore, don't worry. If this happens to come up again down the road and there is a conviction, it'll just get tried in the court again, and they'll probably make a different decision because what is precedent anymore?
Look. We're in dark times, man. I mean, and I'm dead serious about that. Look, I saw a meme. I sent it to you and Andy, and I think maybe like 8 years ago it would be a little over the top. Now I'm like, I feel like this is like,
thing?
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like it's a little understated. Frankly, I think it's a little understated. It's just that image from like one of the seasons of Handmaid's Tale. It is like a half image, and on one side she's wearing the fucking under his eye fucking nun bonnet shit in this hellish dystopian future, and then in the other side is just her normal, right, as a normal woman, and it's like Trump 2024. You get Gilead and all the hellish shit, or Biden 2024, and it's like women get to be normal. Right?
I mean, I mean, look, if Republicans had their way, I'll tell you.
I don't
no abortions, no birth control, and if you can't have a kid naturally, then fuck you. Off to the mill.
Yeah.
Dummy.
No IVF. Like, look, I don't know if you've ever seen The Handmaid's Tale. Have you ever watched that show?
No.
It's horrifying. Like, it's horrifying. It is a horrifying show. And it's so funny. We've talked about this on our other shows. Mike always says, like, I don't understand why women would watch the show. Like, this is insane. Like, why would you watch it? And I think it's because they're like, they're having a J moment. Dude, we told you. Like, it's on TV. Like, seriously, it's fucking terrifying. And it seems crazy until it isn't. Until it doesn't seem crazy. In the last 2 weeks, we were talking about literally, there's other states. This is not on the docket because the docket is so full. There's other states joining with Alabama. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think banning IVF is good.
Oh, and again, in the federal government, in Congress, like Democrats were like, hey, let's put a federal law in place to make sure that IVF is carved out from all these abortion statutes. And Republicans were like, nah, we're good.
No.
And we love IVF, but no, we don't want to codify this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
If this decision and the prior decision on the Supreme Court should do anything, it should be a stark reminder, if you don't already realize it, and I'm sure anyone listening probably does, and I'm sure Jay will clip this and put it on TikTok later, so all you TikTokers out there and all you kids out there, the institutions in this country will not save you.
They will not.
It is up to you to scream from the rooftops, to implore people that you know, that you love, and for you to go out and fucking vote. Because the only thing that's going to stop these assholes from having power over your lives and dragging this company back 50 years in the past is you going out and voting and saying, now we don't want these fucking assholes. Yeah, I don't really like Joe Biden all that much. He's old as shit, but he's a hell of a lot better than any of these fucking idiots.
Yeah. Like it's
as we were talking about before the show, to quote Mark Cuban, I would vote for Joe Biden if he was being given the last rites.
Yeah. Like, I don't care. Oh, really? Are they dragging his corpse up to make a speech? Dude, they can weaken at Bernie's Joe Biden, and I'm right there, dude. I'm the other guy. I'm like, it's Brad and I on both sides, like, fucking, like, let's go. It's going to be a great week. Look, it's insane. It's insane. Look, there was a report today or yesterday that said they did a polling, and people are like, oh, I hadn't heard that Trump said that he would be a dictator on day one. I'm like, where are you people? Where are you?
They're not watching Fox, though. Like, those people are not sitting there watching Fox or listeking to the show or watching liberal media to see that shit. That's the problem. Is that they get to see that stuff. And look, if you people out there are worried about Joe Biden's age, and worried something will happen to him, do not worry, because we can look back to the past. There's a documentary that was released in the early 90s about when the president fell ill. They found an actor that looked just like him to replace him, and it worked out swimmingly. The movie was called Dave. The first lady fell in love with him, and then when the president actually died, they ended up getting together, and he balanced the federal budget while he was filling in for the president.
There you go. Half Republicans believe Joe Biden is an actor anyway. How far are we, really? How far off are we? They already think it's James Woods or Jim Carrey or whatever nutball shit they believe right there. Insane. So yeah, look, it's a banner week for the Supreme Court. It really, really is. Let's go to the next story.
Before you go along, I'd love to see fucking action. Like good old First Amendment protest action taken up outside of SCOTUS as much as possible. I think that would be really cool for you youngsters to go out there and fucking do.
Yeah. I mean this. I truly do. You are living in dark times. You're living in dark times. We have not even gotten to the major, I know some people think so, but we're not. We're not even to the major disinformation shit yet. Like, we're not even there, dude. Like, fake video looks cool. It doesn't look perfect. And it doesn't take 30 years to get there. It's going to take like 5. And it's going to be fucking scary. We haven't gotten there yet, right? You can still tell a faked voice. You're not going to be able to soon. That's when this shit is going to get terrifying. We are in the Just pay attention, zone. Just pay attention, zone. And people are failing on this. There is, like, you can say, I mean, look, it isn't just voters. It isn't like if you're thinking, hey, man, I'm 20. This is a lot. Like, I got other shit. I'm 35. I'm trying to take care of my kids. I'm 40. I'm just, I'm just trying to live my life and all this other stuff. This is exhausting. Hey, don't worry about it. It's hard for everybody. I'm going to talk about somebody in Congress who can't put two thoughts together and is somebody I agree with most of the time. But they can't think more than 10 seconds ahead of themselves. We have to understand that politics is not a zero-sum game all the time. But sometimes it fucking is. Sometimes it is, right? You can have an opinion and go, hey, man, I don't agree with this. And I'm going to voice my opinion loudly, and I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that this doesn't get fucked up. You can do that. But when you throw your hands up and go, I'm uncommitted, and then you turn around and go, I'm terrified that Trump's going to get back in office. Well, there's one person running against him who can beat him. There's one. There's not 30. It's not Doug Phillips, okay? It's not Marianne Williamson. It's not Cenk Uygur. There's one guy. That's it.
And to understate how insignificant one of those candidates is, it's Dean Phillips, not Doug Phillips. That's how insignificant Dean Phillips is, that Jay cannot even be bothered to get his name correct.
I don't care. Sorry, that's Kamala's husband, Doug. So yeah, look, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So look, I get it. It's exhausting. It's a lot. And I say this. I have, this show has been going on long enough, and I say this every 2 years. I give you the big speech, right? The like, get out there and fight. Get out there and fight. Like, when we get a little closer, I'm gonna work myself up into a get out there and fight speech. But you got to get out there. Look, you got Taylor Swift coming out to her 282 bajillion fans or whatever, and she's like, look, y'all got to vote. Go vote Super Tuesday. She's doing her part. She's like, one of the super troopers, right? Like, she's doing her part. So it's like, we got to do something. Throwing your hands up and saying it ain't perfect, so I don't give a fuck. That is going to slow walk your ass into fascism. And if you lose this one, that's it. There's going to be a hell of a lot more people broadcasting live on their podcast from fucking where I am than where you are. That movie Civil War is going to be a fucking documentary.
Just a reminder that politics is usually boring. Politicians are usually relatively uninspiring. Every 30 years or so, you might get an Obama as a treat. But for the most part, like, you're just voting for boring people talking about boring shit.
Yep.
But guess what? That's who you want in charge of the government, because those are the people that generally know what the fuck they're doing. Not the person who is, mumble fucking through every hour and a half stump speech that he gives every fucking weekend.
Yeah. Look, you're absolutely right. The benefit, look, here's how you know. This is the easiest way. This is the easiest way. Obama's different because Obama was literally a once-in-a-lifetime candidate, right? Like, that's true. Like, he's first black president, stuff like that. That's all obvious. Take Obama out of it. This is how you know a politician is doing well and is in and you should dig in and find out what they're actually doing. This is the best way to know. When the media is like, this person is boring. This guy is boring. I don't like this guy. He's boring. There are no good stories to write about this guy. This guy is boring. That's what they do to Joe Biden. He's boring. You know why? Because Joe Biden just comes on and goes, hey, did you like how I slashed the credit card fees? And people are like, what? You did? And he just goes, he just walks away. And then people go, wait, hold on. And then they fucking Google it and they're like, holy shit, he did that. Yeah, it's boring. It's boring. You want it to be boring. You know what Trump was for 4 years? Hey, guess what, everybody? I'm going to stand in front of a helicopter and scream at you. Oh, what's going to happen? You never know. Wake up today. Maybe I'm going to bomb North Korea. You don't know. Where's Rocket Man? Like, you don't want that as president. That's insane. That's insane. Remember when Homer went crazy on The Simpsons? That's what you want? No, nobody wants that. You want boring. You want a person who comes out there and goes, these are the things that are happening. This is stuff we did. Now, do I think they need to brag a little bit more on the Democratic side? Absolutely. But I don't need the Democratic president to be out there doing a soft shoe and the fucking moonwalk. I need you to be doing policy shit. It's supposed to be boring. That's why boring old people like us watch C-SPAN. It's not supposed to be interesting. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be fucking boring. All the guys that you can name are the people like, whoa, it's crazy on it. They're the worst politicians. They're the worst ones. Yeah, you pick Matt Gaetz out of a fucking lineup. You pick Ted Cruz out of a lineup. Yeah, because they're not boring policy guys. They're dickheads. Like, that's why. They're dickheads. You want the boring techno nerds. That's what you want. That's what you want. You do. That's what you want. Look, AOC was super interesting when she first came on. It was like, she's young. It's a firebrand. Yeah. You know what she is now? Boring. 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 She's boring. You know why? Because you know, they're like, hey, AOC, what are you up to? What crazy thing you doing? Sitting here writing policy. Oh, wow. That's really boring. Oh, what's the policy? Yeah, it's helping people. Oh, wow, that's really fucking boring. Yeah, it's supposed to be fucking boring. Elizabeth Warren, what does she do? Boring shit that saves you money. Boring shit. Look, you can like Bernie, but unless Bernie's giving you a big speech about millionaires and billionaires, you know what he's doing? Boring shit. Boring. That's it.
Most of the time.
He's an old boring man. Good. More boring, please. Boring 2024. That's what I want. That's what I'm voting for. Fuck out of here. It's ridiculous. All right. Speaking of boring, or the very opposite of boring, broke boy can't pay his bills.
I like your headline.
Yeah, broke boy can't pay his bills with his broke ass is what I wrote. Because the New York Times doesn't have the balls to write a good headline like that. Trump rebuffed after
I don't even think the New York Post has the balls to write that headline.
Well, I don't know. They like alliteration. They really do. Like, they're big fans of it. So maybe they would do something not exactly, but similar. Trump rebuffed after asking a judge. There's only one judge. It's not
the judge.
The judge. Again, New York Times. What are you doing? Trump rebuffed after asking a judge to delay his $454 million penalty from the New York fraud case. So he's like, hey, man, or his lawyers, Alina Habba, the worst lawyer ever. They're like, hey, so we don't.
She got shit.
Oh, that's right. She's tossed. That's right. She's tossed.
Yeah.
She got her money. She's like, I'm lit. She's lit. I'm going on Fox News. So Trump's lawyers were like, hey, so we only have. How about we give you $100 million? Would that be cool? And then the judge is like, how about get the fuck out of here? How about that?
I like how they have like no legal reasoning. They're just like, can we please pay less money?
Yeah, is that
because we don't have the monies.
to quote, this is hilarious. Mr. Trump's lawyers had asked the appeals court to allow him to post only a $100 million bond, a promise from an outside company that a judgment eventually will be paid. What? I'm sorry. What? We promise that we're going to pay it? That's funny. No, you're going to fucking pay it. Because securing one for the full amount was impossible, they said. Impossible. I don't know if you know what that word means. It means they can't do it. This is an impossible mission. Tom Cruise.
As we said, if he doesn't have the money, if he can't go to the bank and do a withdrawal out of the ATM, there's lots of buildings that the state would be happy to take off his hands for him. No problem.
Yeah, and Letitia James was like, "Oh, we see some properties, baby. Like, you better knock."
Oh, here's a quote from her. There is no merit to defendants' contention that a full bond or deposit is unnecessary because they're willing to post a partial undertaking of less than a quarter of the judgment amount. Defendants all but concede that Mr. Trump has insufficient liquid assets to satisfy the judgment. That means collection time, baby.
Yeah, I believe they're giving 30 days. They're like, you have 30 days to pay this, or we're going to start collecting shit. I don't know, man. First up, Trump Tower. I immediately seized Trump Tower. Like, just as the dickish move I could think to make. 100%. Look, I guess they can I guess they can repossess any of his buildings anywhere.
As whatever he wants. She can freeze his bank accounts. She can she can take over properties. Like, do whatever the fuck you want.
look, I take this back. I'm not being fair. I'm really not being fair. I said I would take Trump Tower. Nah, I wouldn't take Trump Tower first. I'd take Mar-a-Lago first.
I think they can only, or no, I guess they could take his holdings from anywhere. They don't have to.
Now, I imagine Mar-a-Lago is under the Trump organization. It's not under his personal account. So, yeah. No, I'd be like, you said Mar-a-Lago's worth a lot of money. Pack your bags, motherfucker. Go back and live in New York. You're done. You're done, son. This is ours. I'd kick everybody out and I'd sell that motherfucker. Look, I'd just demolish it. Like I would immediately smash that shit to death. I would immediately hire a crew of hopefully fresh off the boat Mexicans to come in, drive equipment and destroy it. I'd be like, you ever heard of Donald Trump? They're like, yeah, we hate that guy. I'd be like, come aboard. Like, knock this boat in. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and I also realize you don't really have to take a boat from Mexico to get to the United States. They don't have to be fresh off the boat. It's just a saying. So yeah, it's I would take Mar-a-Lago first. Oh, is this your residence? That's a shame. It's a shame. You can go shit in the golden toilet in New York. By the way, I hope it's worth $454 million because if it's not, Trump Tower is next. Like where are you living? I'm coming for that next. Oh, you like Bedminster? The golf course?
Didn't he say? Didn't he try to allege that Mar-a-Lago is worth like $3 billion or something stupid like that? Great.
Then that should be more than enough. It'll be fine. Yeah. We can do an assessment. We'll put it up on Redfin, and we'll see how much. We'll see what their algorithm says it's worth. No, I would buy it. I would buy it immediately. I would repossess it immediately, 100%. It would be one of those two properties. But I would most likely take Mar-a-Lago just because he's living there, and fuck him.
Well, he's got 20 days from time of recording, so I hope he gets his daughter-in-law installed at the RNC post haste. Otherwise, he's going to be on the hook for a lot of fucking money. So,
gotta love it. Look, I didn't see this one. This came out today. Broke boy continues to be broke. Trump asked judge to cut the $83.3 million penalty in the E. Jean Carroll case or grant him a new trial.
Yeah, he's taken a Hail Mary here by saying that he's going to win on appeal because the judge should not have prohibited him from testifying on his behalf, even though his testimony had absolutely nothing to do with the case at hand, because the judge allowed him to testify. And then when he started rambling on about some fucking nonsense, the judge was like, you're done. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no thanks. Why can't you pay the money, bro? I thought you had it. I thought you had it. It would have only been $5 million if you had kept your fucking mouth shut. This $83 million is all you, baby. Like, this is all you, and it's nobody's fault but your own. They told you, just like, knock it off. And he was like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to say it. And okay. Now look at you. Like,
and he's getting sued again because again, he held his tongue for 2 weeks and then he started running his fucking mouth again on TV. And she's like, I might sue him again. Because obviously $85 million, not enough to teach him his lesson.
Look, like I told the two of you, Eugene, go ahead and lube up the Sue dildo and ram it back in. Because you didn't learn. That's on you.
I mean, look, if he, like, I don't know that Eugene Carroll necessarily wants to do this, but if the purpose of her life for the rest of his life is just to fucking sue him every 6 months for making defaming statements about her, look, you're just going to take one for the team, Eugene, and just make that man miserable for the rest of his hopefully short-lived life.
I mean, look, if he keeps going at the way he is, she'll be up to the amount that he owes New York.
Maybe she could take Trump Tower. Maybe they're like, hey, give Trump Tower to her, and then we'll just take everything else. Like that's what we'll do.
Just a lovely cultural exchange between friends. Yeah, it's fine. Like
how come he's not tapping up Jared for the money? Jared's good for it right now. He got $2 billion from the Saudis. Jared's like, I'm not really liquid at the time. Excuse me.
I'm not really liquid right now. I'm not really sure I can do it. Remember that time where we hadn't heard what Jared Kushner sounded like?
I do.
Like
and we did.
first 3 or 4 months of him being in the White House, it was like, I've never heard him speak. It was weird. And then John Oliver made that point. He's like, yeah, and remember how you heard that? He was like, you've never heard him speak. You've never heard him. It was like, you're right. It could sound like Mickey Mouse. And it turns out he did. He did, in fact.
Yeah, he really did.
That's really weird. Okay. All right. Brad, you want to take this next one? Your boy, Stephen.
Yeah. Good old Mitch, Moscow Mitch, Crooked Mitch. What other nicknames did Trump give him? I can't even remember. Mitch McConnell announced last week that he is going to step down as the longest serving GOP Senate leader after the November elections, which is probably good because, as we've seen over the past month, Mitch McConnell is suffering through just repeated and inconsistent system reboots all the time. So probably not a good idea for the Senate leader to just kind of freeze up for 30 seconds to a minute at a time. We saw that he has the black hand. We don't know what that's fucking all about.
He had the black hand of death. It was fucking weird, man.
Yeah, basically Mitch McConnell's 82, probably not in the best of health, and needs to hand the football off before he fucking dies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one could make an argument. Like, I think you might be too old. Which is hilarious. We're worried about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Like, Mitch McConnell is 1,000 years old. Like, relax.
Now let us ponder a bit about Mitch McConnell's legacy.
Yes.
Because Jay, if I know history, and I know that I do, assuming there is still going to be, history in 30 years, assuming if Republicans still take power, Mitch McConnell is going to be remembered as one of the absolute worst people to be in any form of government leadership, and is going to be remembered as the enabler of what the Republican Party has become, the sole enabler of what the Republican Party has become, because there has been no man more singularly positioned to hold off the MAGA movement in the Republican Party than Mitch McConnell, and he just didn't do it for reasons
that's correct
that God only knows.
I mean, look, he also is in talks to potentially endorse Trump, which is weird.
He will. He 100% will. Are you kidding me?
I think he will. I think that's nuts. I think if you're going to do anything, if you're going to walk away, and by the way, he's not walking away like tomorrow, right? He's sticking around. Hit him with the John McCain on your way out, man. Just like, bam, like right here, motherfucker, I'm out. But he's not going to do that because at the end of the day, he is a Republican and he is going to defend the Republican Party to the hilt.
He's not leaving, by the way. Like, he's just stepping down from leadership. Now, will he stay in the Senate for his entire term? Probably not. Like, he's 82 now. He'd be 86 by the time that term is over. I find it hard to believe. I will say this too. Nancy Pelosi did make a really good point about this, and I feel it warrants mentioning. When when this was announced, many DC pundits, especially normal, fucking both sides pundits kind of shit, were falling over themselves to praise Mitch McConnell, Lion of the Senate. We'll never see anyone like him again. Yeah, da 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 da.
Good.
And yes. But when Nancy Pelosi stepped down from leadership, pretty much everyone was like, well, she's still going to be there. She's just not going to be in leadership. Like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, putting aside the fact that Nancy Pelosi, in fairness, a much more historic politician when it's all said and done than Mitch McConnell is. Yeah. But I just thought that was interesting. Just some casual misogyny to be thrown her way.
I mean, I wish I could be surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, people talk about Nancy Pelosi. Look, you may not like Nancy Pelosi, and there's plenty of things to actually disagree with her on. And I disagree with quite a bit. Was she incredibly accomplished in getting legislation across the line? It's inarguable. Obama wouldn't have gotten as much done Biden would not have gotten as much done, right? Like her legacy is unbelievable. Like it is unbelievable. So yeah, no, she deserves a lot of credit.
I think the other reason too is that I think that by and large, Democrats, especially in this day and age, maybe before they used to do it, but in this day and age especially, tend not to really lionize our political figures that much. Like we kind of treat them just as what they are, which is public servants doing the good work for the people, and it's their job. Whereas Republicans love to fucking put people on a pedestal. They can't get enough of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's very weird, but they do. They do. So yeah, look, him stepping down, great. Good, great, grand. Again, he's not leaving, but he's 1.5 million years old.
Yeah.
Even if he decides to do kind of a Nancy Pelosi thing and just like, I'm just gonna stick around, but like I'm gonna be out of leadership, like he should want to retire because it's embarrassing now. It's embarrassing. Mm-hmm. Like I don't feel sad like, oh, that's somebody's grandpa, but it's embarrassing.
But Jay, he can't retire because the governor of his state is a Democrat.
Look, if he wants to just die, that's also fine. It's a great option for me. I don't care. Just leave. Just leave. All right. Next up, I'm gonna start a new section of the show called "See, these are things you're not paying attention to that President Joe Biden is doing." Like
that actually affect your life.
That actually affects your life. Yeah. Biden to form strike force.
I love whenever anyone in government forms what they call a strike force.
Yeah. It's never as cool as it should be. They never have guns. It's unfortunate. But Biden is to form a strike force to go after price gouging. Look, this is something we talked about, right? People are saying, oh, we're not seeing the prices of items going down. Everyone's saying the economy is so good. That's not the government's fault. It's corporations that are price gouging people and throwing in all these extra fees because they can. Right? They made insane profits during COVID because you weren't going anywhere and you didn't have a choice. And they just either kept those fees in, even though they have now received, business loans and PPP loans and all this other stuff. They've recouped plenty, and now they're making, billions on top of where they were even pre-COVID. Or you have companies that are just gouging you now because like nobody's looking, right? Like and they can do that.
Dude, price gouging and shrinkflation are so rampant and bad right now. Even fucking Cookie Monster is going on Twitter being like Mino-like shrinkflation, the size of these cookies are terrible. Right wow. I'm not even kidding. Like that's the thing that fucking happened.
I believe you. No, it's good. Look, sometimes you got to reach people where they are, man. Like some mom or dad is at home and like watching Sesame Street with their kid. They're like, you know what? I am fucking pissed about this. I knew those cookies were getting smaller. Yeah, they are.
Their 4-year-old comes down like, Mommy, what's shrinkflation? And you're just like, fucking companies, we're going to get their asses.
Joe Biden better be doing something about it. Joe Biden is making a strike force. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So Biden is making this quote unquote strike force. The announcement comes days before the State of the Union. The strike force, and this is very important, by the way. The strike force, which is co-chaired by the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission, aims to coordinate the Biden administration's efforts to rein in anti-competitive and unfair practices and lower prices in key sectors, including food, prescription drugs, and transportation. Okay? Quote, even as prices have come down on important items such as a gallon of milk and a dozen eggs, some corporations aren't passing these savings on to consumers. Instead, some corporations are tacking on extra fees, hiding costs, and sometimes even breaking the law. This is the type of boring shit that politicians are supposed to do, right? When people go, oh, did the politician that you voted for lower the price of milk? Yeah, dude, that's actually really helpful to a lot of people. Like, oh, yeah, that's really boring and not exciting. Yeah, it's boring. It's not exciting. And you know what? When people go to the grocery store, they go, oh, a gallon of milk is not $500 anymore. Great. Because I remember, like, in the U.S., being in the grocery store, I'm like, this milk is like $8. Why? Well, like, what the fuck is going on?
Let me,
God forbid,
let me tell you a story. So when my wife and I went to the beach a couple weeks ago, and she does the shopping. I it's been years since I've set foot in a grocery store. Wow. And we went to a Giant.
Sexist.
We went to a Giant.
Brad coming out anti-milk. Got it. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna forge on past your snide accusations. When we got down there, we went to the Giant down there just to get a few things, to snack on the house for the couple of days we're gonna be there.
Sure. I
was just like, holy shit. I turned to my wife and was like, have prices been like this for a while? And she's like, yes. I'm just like, holy shit. Like I just hadn't seen it just because I don't fucking go. So
this number's gonna be so high. Jesus Christ. I'm just a man. I only know gas prices.
Right.
Yeah, that's a quote from Brad. That's how he talks. It's crazy.
Unga bunga, me no pricing.
Dodge Chargers only. So yeah, it's insane, right? But this is what we're talking about. When people talk about Joe Biden isn't doing anything, these are direct affecting policies, guys. These are things that actually deal with shit during your day that you go, oh, eggs are now $1 cheaper than they were 3 months ago. That's a big deal. And look, and a lot of times, and I will be like, I will go out on a limb and say a lot of people don't pay attention to prices nearly as much as they pretend to. I think a lot, like when they get extremely high, people pay attention. Like, yo, gas is like $7. Like, holy shit! Like you can't help but notice, right? But I think on a week-to-week basis, people don't really notice like a fluctuation of like 20, 30 cents. But you know who does? Poor people do. And a lot of people you see, and look, maybe this is just my blind spot, but I think it actually is true. A lot of people who tend to be like, the Democrats aren't doing anything, and this sort of like horseshit middle of the road kind of thing comes from a lot of people who are either middle or upper middle class. And they don't think that these policies affect anything, but they affect poor people, right? A poor person can tell you, yo, milk was 35, 40 cents lower last week. They notice because they have to notice. A person who makes $75,000 a year, you may go, oh, my bill's like a little bit more expensive, but you don't know.
You may be me, and you're like, wow, these prices seem high, but
I'm glad I don't have to go to the store. That's women's work, right? Like I make too much money. I'm rich, right? So Brad doesn't notice, right? Has his poor wife go deal with all these horrible prices, right? But like you don't notice that as much, right? Because you're doing well, right? And I'm not saying you're like rich or anything, right? But like you're doing well. But people who are at the bottom of that barrel just making it where the price of eggs being $1 higher all of a sudden is like, yo, I got to buy the pack of 6 eggs. I can't afford the pack of 12, right? That really makes a difference. Those people notice. When people say Joe Biden hasn't, one last point. When people say Joe Biden hasn't done enough on student loans because he's not doing enough. I got $40,000, $50,000 of student loan debt. I got a lot of debt. But when he cuts loans for people who only have $12,000 of debt, because that's all they could afford, because they took out a loan to go to, let's say, community college or something like that, right? Or they took a couple of classes just so they could get those classes done for a job. Those people notice because they don't have a lot of money. Those people notice. So make sure that you don't diminish the policies because maybe you have too much money to notice, because it actually shows how elitist you truly are. Just saying.
Well, and here's what drives me nuts is I don't understand how it takes such a concerted effort to put these two ideas together. Because me, a smart person, if I see corporations out here fucking pumping, pounding their chest, being like, "Oh my God, we've never seen such high profits,"
right? And
then on the other hand, I see my out-of-pocket costs are going up. I'm going to say, wait a fucking second here. Like, corporations are making crazy profits, but I'm paying more? What the fuck, corporations? Like, I'm not going to blame the fucking government for for this shit happening. Like, that shit drives me insane. Like, I don't understand how these people cannot connect these two things together. Again, it's because they don't want to connect the two things together.
Right. And look, you know, and this is the reason, this is a prime reason why I think libertarianism is the dumbest political fucking thought process. Because in a libertarian world, they would just go, oh, you could just go buy eggs somewhere else, man. You could just go buy cereal somewhere else. But
right, collusion's not a thing, guys.
Yeah, it never happens. The corporations never talk to each other. They're not allowed. And look, if they're just being pieces of shit,
let the free market decide. The free market is deciding. Yeah, they're saying pay more for this shit, people. Yeah.
Gouge today, gouge tomorrow, gouge again in the future. Like, yeah, that's what they're going to do. So look, Biden doing this, I think is a great idea. Like, go after these fuckers. I think it's super smart. Now, I didn't read the last part of that article because there is actually there's a whole ass article about it. Credit card fees. I mentioned it earlier. Joe Biden went in and was like, hey, I'm going to need you guys to relax on these credit card fees.
Average he campaigned on fees, this, by the way.
Yeah. Again, these are things that people don't talk about. The new rule closes a loophole in the federal law called the Card Act, which allows major credit card issuers to charge increasing fees if individuals are late in paying off debt. Because there's nothing like being late to pay off your debt that's helpful than adding more debt for you to pay, right? Hey, did you bounce a check? Why don't we charge you $40 because you bounced a check? But I don't even have the money for this check, and it was only a check for $30. So like, well, right. Sorry, dude. But here's the point I really want to make. According to release, this is from the article. According to release issued by the White House on Tuesday morning, and this is important. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has finalized a ruling that will cut the typical credit card late fees from a current average of $32 to $8.
A maximum of $8.
Excuse me, a maximum of $8, right? Now, why is that significant? Is it the 32 to the 8? Yes, that's a big deal. That makes a lot of difference. Again, in especially poor people's lives, especially people who have a credit card and they use that credit card just to get over from month to month, right? So it does make a difference for them, and it should make a difference for everybody because it's still money, right? By the way, they suspect that this difference will save Americans $10 billion a year. Hello.
Oh, and by the way, the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau.
Yep.
Guess who wants to get rid of it?
Of course, Trump.
Guess who thinks that institution it doesn't serve a purpose in government?
Yeah,
Republicans.
Yeah, and my point, and that's a sound one, and it's very true. My point was the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. Who created it? Who was the person who created it?
Oh, we know who created it. Right. If you listen to this show, you know who created it.
A boring grandma did it, you guys. A boring grandma, Elizabeth Warren. This is her baby. She is responsible for coming up with this idea and putting it together and getting this shit built. Boring shit. Boring people get shit done. She ain't got time to be dancing and playing around and doing a bunch of bullshit. Boring. You haven't heard from Elizabeth Warren about damn near anything as far as like being out in the media, like trying to make big hay about anything really since after she lost. You know why? She went back to Congress and got to work because she's a boring old grandma trying to save you money. $10 billion a year this will save. $10 billion. They're not doing anything, bro. $10 billion. It's not nothing. It's not nothing. I know the fucking assholes on the extreme left were like, well, why isn't it 11 billion? Dude, I don't know what to tell you, right? But it's $10 billion.
Why doesn't he get rid of all credit card fees?
Yeah. Why doesn't Joe Biden just pay off everyone's credit cards? Like, okay, I guess that's right. So
and now this isn't going to go through slam dunk. They will absolutely be sued by the credit card companies on this, we will see. Of course. Yeah, we will see what happens because they're not too happy about this.
And the Supreme Court will be like, I think we should probably fuck over the American people. What are they going to do? But understand that he is doing these things because he believes them. This is a campaign promise that he fucking did. Right? Again, every week because it's so easy to concentrate on Trump and the Republicans, but every single week I'm going to bring definitive legislative work that Joe Biden is doing that is actually helping people. I gave you 2 stories.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about, you know what? This whole episode is going to be free because there's a ton of shit. So, look, I'm like Joe Biden. I'm helping the people.
Well, guess what? You freeloading free listeners who are getting this whole episode for free right now. Not you glorious, beautiful premium paying listeners who you always get to hear this, and I love you, by the way. I really appreciate you, and continue giving us your money. But you fucking freeloading lazy asses that are getting this whole episode for free now. You're about to see Jay and I vehemently disagree on this next story.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who backed the uncommitted primary vote, is incredibly scared of a second Trump term. All right, Brad, tell me why you and Rashida Tlaib are on the same page.
So what Jay's referring to, because we didn't talk about it last week on the show, is when Michigan had their primary last week, Joe Biden only captured, I want to say, around 70 some odd % of the primary vote. And about 20% of the vote went to uncommitted. So not toward any particular candidate, but just people that refused to commit for Joe Biden. A big reason for this is because Michigan has a very high, disproportionately high compared to most other states, Palestinian population. Yeah. And also like population from other refugee states. And the uncommitted organization effort was a vote. It was basically a protest vote against the poor showing that you could say the Biden White House has had in helping negotiate the Israeli Palestinian conflict that's currently going on in the Middle East. So I know what Jay's going to say. I know Jay's going to get very upset about people voting uncommitted and to think of the bigger picture. And Rashida Tlaib, own words, will underscore Jay's point. But the reason that I understand where Tlaib and those folks are coming from is because this is what a primary is for. The primary is the vehicle. It is the election that exists to be able to vote with your heart. We've said that before. Like when it comes to November, you got to vote with your head.
I do not disagree.
Yeah, in the springtime, you can vote with your heart. So provided that these same people who voted uncommitted will still be there for Joe Biden in November, I don't have a problem with them using the primary to register their dissatisfaction with what's going on in Gaza right now and the White House's role in it. I don't mind it as long as they're there in November. And as long as people like Rashida Tlaib will be vociferously backing Joe Biden to the hilt in the lead up to November.
I don't think we disagree at all. How about that?
Okay, cool. I thought you were going to be really, really pissy at Rashida Tlaib. So.
No, relax. I'll get there. I mean, I don't think you're 100% incorrect about who I am. Look, I think that you're correct in that voting uncommitted and voting and saying, listen, we're Palestinians. Her parents are Palestinian immigrants. Like, look, I understand her perspective. I 100% understand her perspective. Like, well, let me rephrase that. I sympathize with her perspective, right? My parents are not Palestinian immigrants, right? I don't want to. I don't know, and I mean that quite seriously. I don't want to be like, I understand your pain of like watching your people being fucking killed on TV. I do, but not in the same ways, right? Like, and I want to acknowledge that there is a difference, right? That being said, I think that the 100,000 people who voted uncommitted in that race, in that Michigan primary, I think they have the right to do that. I think it's totally fair. And look, a primary can be a protest vote and be like, look, dude, like what you did was fucked up, and you shouldn't have backed Israel like that. And look what it has gotten us, right? And we're gonna talk about some shit that's going on in Israel, where like you can't help but agree with them, right? You really can't. That being said, her quote, where she says, "Look, she's really, she's very scared of a second Trump term." The problem here is human beings don't work the way we want them to work. They're not robots, right? They don't just go, okay, I'm going to fucking wind you up and send you out there to vote uncommitted. 100,000 of you vote uncommitted, and we're going to give this protest vote. Because what happens is you don't say behind that, we need to send Joe Biden a message, but we also got to back Joe Biden come November because we got a fucking fascist who is going, and we have a story about his thoughts on Gaza, who is going to actually make our lives and our families' lives and our people's lives 1,000,000 times worse. That's not what you say. What you say is we need to go out there and show Joe Biden that we're not invisible, and then we need to send a message. Full stop. And the problem is, because you wind people up and they are not robots, they are going to continue down that fucking path, right? They are going to continue down the uncommitted path, and you're going to see more and more people become more vehemently against Biden going into November. And again, you have every right to be. But the problem is your platform, Rashida Tlaib, is powerful. And not allowing for that level of nuance. And again, I feel like a dick in saying that because it's people dying, right? And so I don't want to be like, well, you should still back the white guy, even though like he's literally sending weapons to kill your people, right? Like I feel like a dick for having to like weirdly kind of semi say that, right? And I can understand why she wouldn't want to do that. But when you come out and you say this, it's like, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? I mean, quite literally, you're telling 100,000 people, hey, join up with me so we can send this guy a fucking message. This guy is terrible for Palestinians. Trump, in the next story, says, I agree with Israel that they should, quote, finish the job. That's what he's saying about your people.
Well, but that goes to my point is now she needs to back Biden up, and she has several months in which to do it. Sure, she can. She can. Sure, it is very easy for her to come out, and especially as the position towards Israel hardens in the White House, as it seems to finally, slowly, eventually be getting there.
We're dropping food, we're dropping food to Palestinians. Like there's video.
Right. It gives her an opportunity to come out and be like, look, like we sent a big message. I think the administration got that message. We've seen a softening on their stance. Now it's time to make sure that Biden stays there so we can continue to push him, because the other guy is not even going to listen to what we have to say. Whereas Biden is. There's room for that to be said.
Okay, look. That's fair. Let me give you another quote. She says, don't stay home. Talking to people who cast uncommitted. One thing that I know about staying home is this is as far as doing the uncommitted thing, right? But she won't say whether or not she's going to back Biden, right? Again, she's got time, right? I'm not saying she can't change her mind on that or try to slow roll it. But here's my thing. This is why I don't think she can do that. She can't be so vociferous about doing that. She's going to have to be real mealy-mouthed, about it. And the reason why is because she's going to be seen as turning her back on her own people.
But again, like when we get to November, as we say all the time, and as many people say, when we get to November, it's a choice between this guy and this guy. It is a binary choice. I don't give a shit if RFK Jr. is on the ballot. I don't give a shit if like Dean Phillips runs on the No Label campaign and he's on the ballot. They don't matter. It is literally a choice between these two guys. One of these guys is not doing a great job of handling the situation, but he at least is willing to listen and willing to come down. The other guy, to your point, just says, finish the fucking job, Israel. Let's fucking go. No room for nuance in that statement whatsoever.
Yeah. Look.
And those are your choices. Again,
I hope
you can vote for the guy that that you disagree with, but but has room to grow, or you can vote for the guy that's firmly entranced in his crazy evangelical bullshit. So
right. Look, I hope that she can move that needle. And look, do I think Biden is going to lose Michigan? Probably not. Probably not, right? But he could.
I mean, but it's not a sure thing. I mean, that's a tough.
Right. She ain't saying this shit from fucking L.A., man. She ain't saying it from L.A. Like, if she's talking this shit from L.A., I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like, who cares, right? Doesn't matter. But Michigan is not. It's not 100%. I don't have a problem with you speaking your mind and calling out the administration when they're doing something wrong. Look, I don't think it's cool to be sending over bunker busters and shit like that and killing kids. They've killed 30,000 people. All 30,000 of those people were fucking terrorists? I doubt it. Right? 20,000 terrorists? No. 10,000? No. Couple hundred maybe? Yeah, probably. 1,000 maybe? Sure. I don't know, man. 29,000 getting it wrong is pretty bad, right? That's pretty terrible. So I'm not going to pretend that it's good. I'm not going to pretend that the United States' hand in it is nothing. It's quite serious. And I'm not telling her to shut up and dribble type of shit. I'm not. But what I'm saying is when you wind people up, you have to be responsible for the fact that you will not be able to rein them back. You won't. You won't. And you know how I know? Because I watch people on fucking social media. They don't hear jack shit that's happened because of Gaza. They don't hear jack shit else that's going on. They have made up their mind and they turn the fuck off. They turn the fuck off. And they're like, I don't know, Donald Trump said he's going to be a dictator. And they're like, yeah, but what about Gaza with Biden? Done. They've turned off. And it's a really scary time. And again, I wouldn't even have a problem with, again, I'm not mad at you for expressing your point. I think that's a good thing. But you got it. When you come with this shit, especially in this time, right? This isn't Barack Obama running against Mitt Romney, right? Where if Romney got in, the world isn't going to come to an end, right? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be worse? Yeah, okay. Romney's still a Republican, but it's not going to come to an end. The country is not going to destroy itself. We are in a very different situation now. And I know people say that's what Democrats say all the time. Well, the last couple of guys have been pretty fucking extreme, guys. They've been really extreme. But Romney wasn't a really extreme guy. I mean, he is, if you look at it comparative to Democratic politics, sure, but not extreme in this I want to be a dictator type of shit. It's not. So it's not the same situation. So I'm not saying you can't say anything, but I think you got to have a little bit more, as a congresswoman, I think you got to come a little bit more detailed when you come out with this shit. Hey, we are voting uncommitted in the primary. We still back Joe Biden because we think that he is a better chance against Donald Trump, who is a horrendous chance, right, for our people. But we're gonna make a protest vote to let him know that we are not going to be taken lightly. We need to be taken seriously in this. Go protest at the White House. Fucking set up a meeting. Do anything you want. That's good. Get TV time. Got no problem with that. But when you wind up people, you got to give them a direction besides anger. That's what Republicans do. They wind up their guys like little fucking metal toys, men, and they send them out in hate. And they just go, oh, I don't know what's going to happen after that. They're coming for your kids. They're coming for your kids. And then they just let them out and they close the door. And then it's like, oh, why was there a fucking school shooting? That's why. Right? You gotta make sure that's a powerful thing in politics, is not to wind people up so much that you can't pull them back. And I'm afraid she might have wound up enough people that she's not going to be able to pull some of them back. And look, if you're talking about 10 people, I don't give a shit. But 100,000 is a dangerous number, especially in a state that could go either way.
9 months is a long time, is all I'm going to say.
It is.
And time tends to calm people down, heal all wounds. And especially in this conflict, I have to imagine, and I'm probably asking to eat crow at the end of the day on this, I have to imagine that 9 months will help simmer down
hope so.
What's going on there. So
look, well, you know what? Let's take a quick break and right into the fucking next story because it's insane. Let me move some stuff around here. Let's go.
I figured you would be. So
yeah, let's go to Trump's comments about Gaza. So he was on some Fox show.
I haven't seen this, by the way, so I'm very curious.
Really?
To hear about it? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's on some Fox show with Brian Kilmeade and some random black dude. I don't know who he is. And so they're on Fox and Friends. I guess this is like a segment where Fox journalists talk to black people. And so he's
I believe the guy's name is T. Ken Black.
I'm sorry?
I said I believe the guy's name is T. Ken Black.
Is that true?
No.
Oh, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, T. Dot Ken Black.
God damn it. So they're on there and they're asking him about Gaza, right? And so Trump's on the phone. So here you go.
Your policies for a second. As you know, this president of the United States, when it comes to Israel, is getting protested. Now he seems to be turning on Israel. But the non-committed vote that Biden's getting, they're not going to like you either because you are firmly in Israel's camp, correct? Are you on board with the way the IDF is taking the fight in Gaza?
You've got to finish the problem. You had a horrible invasion. It took place. It would have never happened if I was president, by the way. As you know, Iran...
He has to make it about himself. He has to make it about himself.
Of course.
Has to.
It was broke, Brian. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas, for Hezbollah. They were broke. This would have never happened. And for another reason, they wouldn't have done it to me. I guarantee you that. They did this because they have no respect for Biden. And frankly, they got soft. And what happened here is incredible. That should never have happened. Likewise, Russia would never have attacked Ukraine. Never. You know it. Everybody knows it. And that wouldn't have happened. This is all on Biden.
Do you think the president's in the process of abandoning Israel?
I do believe that, but I don't think he knows where he is, frankly. I think you could ask him a question right now, ask him the same question. I don't think he knows what to say about many subjects, actually. It's really the people that surround him. It's the fascists and the communists that surround him. They're making the calls. They're calling the shots. He's not calling the shots.
Mr. President.
I just want to point out, yes, historically everyone knows fascists and communists totally hang out together. But okay,
that's right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Arm in arm.
What did you feel about Kamala Harris calling for a ceasefire in Gaza? Is that something that you support? Is that something that is totally off the table right now for you?
That's a stupid fucking question. He just told you that the IDF should, quote, finish the job. Why would he support a ceasefire? Like, why are you there? What kind of question is that? That's a dumb fuck question. Did you just read something off your paper without even listening to what he said?
Look, I hate seeing what's happening. Again, it would have never happened. This attack on Israel and likewise Israel's counterattack, which is what it is, would never have happened if I was president. And you know that, Lawrence. This would have never happened. And it's so horrible to watch it because, you know, if things went right in 2020, which they should have, but they didn't for some very bad and sinister reasons, this would, all these people that are dead in Ukraine and Russia and Israel and all these people that are dead, all these areas that are destroyed, it would.
Note that he doesn't, and none of us are surprised listening, but note that he doesn't actually answer the question that was asked. Like, what would you do? Right, because he doesn't have an answer to that fucking question. Like it just circles back to, oh, well, if I was there, this would have never happened in the first place. So I guess he's insinuating that if he gets back there, that somehow that'll just be like, all right, well, war's over, Trump's back. Like we gotta slow it the fuck down, just because we don't want to make him mad right there. But yeah, there you go.
It's nonsense. Yeah, it's. Again, this goes in line with the Rashida Tlaib story. Listen to what he's telling you. He's not even talking about, he didn't give you not a near fucking bit of one. He don't know what the fuck is going on to Palestinians. He don't give a shit. He doesn't know shit, right? But he didn't tell you they need to finish the job about going after Hamas. He never said the word Hamas. He never did. He focused on Iran. He focused on himself. He never focused on Hamas. He's just looking at it because, look, I know why. Palestinians are the problem to get to finish off.
They're brown, so they're all part of Hezbollah.
They're all the same
because they're in the same region. So
right. So no, he didn't say Hamas. He don't have time to remember that shit. Look, I support Israel. Who's Israel killing? Doesn't matter. Keep killing them. That's all he cares about. So again, if you think that the difference, and I realize Rashida Tlaib does realize, she's not an idiot. She does realize the difference between Biden and Trump. But over that 9 months, I'm going to need you to come out big time. Big time. Like, you need to be on that shit. Be like, this guy is a psychopath, and we have to choose Joe Biden. Look, you don't even have to suck up to Joe Biden, right? If you're feeling like you don't want to bruise your own ego that you've come out and done all this uncommitted stuff, you don't have to do that. Just make the point that Trump sucks and is dangerous. That's enough where people go, well, fuck, I mean, what else are we supposed to do? Like, that's it. Just make that argument, and that to me is enough. And then on, day before fucking votes go out, just like take a picture of Joe Biden and be like, yeah.
And by the way, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and for Christ's sake, don't clip it. Credit to Brian Kilmeade for actually like asking the question in the first place. Like, yeah, like these uncommitted folks for Biden, they're not going to really dig what you're putting down either, as far as this goes, right? Yeah. And of course, Trump was like, yeah, like is fucking bombing back in the Stone Age. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah. No, I am going to clip it. I'm going to give, I'm going to send it to Brian Kilmeade. Brian Kilmeade, welcome to Thugs of News.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a little nuts, man. It's just a little nuts. And let me move this fucking Andy's girl down a couple of notches. Story. It's fucking crazy. But then let's talk about the ceasefire, right? They mention how Kamala Harris floated out there that there should be an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. And Joe Biden came out and was like, yeah, we're working on it. We're going to do it. It's coming. And then the IDF was like, why don't we open fire on Palestinians trying to get food out of food trucks? And, this food has been brought to them. The IDF said they thought they were being swarmed and being attacked. So they opened fire on people, killing a number of people. I'm not sure what the exact number was. So now negotiations are pretty hard because Hamas is like, fuck off, right? Look,
yeah, it's almost like, and again, like, is this right to? This what I'm going to say sounds a little conspiratorial.
Speculate it, Brad. Go ahead.
Sounds a little conspiratorial over the actions of, a couple of an individual group of soldiers. But man, it sure seems like whenever we get close to a ceasefire, Israel does something stupid to fucking pull us back from the brink. Eh? Almost as if they're not interested in actually having one.
Because that's who keeps fucking it up. Bibi Netanyahu. He is the guy who keeps fucking this shit up. I do think it sounds conspiratorial, what you're saying, but I would argue I'm using the word conspiratorial in the way that it should be, which is a couple of people secretly coming up with a plan to do something, and that's what they did, right? The idea of them just so happen to shoot a bunch of fucking Palestinians when they know what they're doing. You're well aware of what they're doing right now is insane. It's insane. Now you could say, hey, maybe those soldiers make a mistake. Maybe they did. But why are you so close to the citizens getting food with your guns right on them? Why? If this is supposed to be a humanitarian thing, I'm not saying you can't have your weapons, but why are you so close that it feels like you're being stormed like that? Why? Right? There are people you wouldn't be in this situation if you didn't cut off all ability for food to get into the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, to the point where countries are literally airdropping supplies into Gazans.
Yeah, the U.S.
because they can't get past the blockades that you put up.
Yeah, the U.S. is literally dropping food. I saw videos of it the other day. It's fucking wild to see in 2024. What are we doing? Right? And this is where I agree with Rashida Tlaib. Right? Because I am I'm a person of nuance. We're watching these people starve to death.
Yeah.
This is a humanitarian effort. It's insane.
And this is where my most vehement disagreement comes with Biden, because again, like they're still trying the hug BB strategy, where publicly you embrace him, but privately admonish him.
Yep.
You don't need to do that. Some stuff was brought to like some historical examples have been brought up on some of the podcasts and shows that I pay attention to. There was a similar conflict, not quite as hot as this one is, but a similar conflict back in the 80s. Where Reagan called the Israeli prime minister and basically told him to knock it the fuck off. And he did. And like Reagan apparently afterwards turned to his aide and was like, I had no idea that I had that kind of power, that I could just fucking call like another world leader and be like, knock this shit off, and they do it. There's a story about Bill Clinton when he met with the Israeli PM. I don't know if I can't remember if it was I don't think it was Netanyahu at the time. I think it was the person who preceded him. And he was trying to like fucking big time Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton literally told him to his face, who's the fucking superpower again?
Yeah. You're there because of us.
Yeah.
You are.
So yeah, like if you're Joe Biden, like you absolutely positively can lean on Netanyahu a little bit more.
Yeah,
because we do hold the cards.
We do. It's not it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And he has been the fly in the ointment for a very long time, and I do not understand why he keeps being reelected. I do know. The hard right-wing, ideologues over there are all about it. But you got to get that guy out of public office, man. Like, you got to get that guy out of public office.
That's the trick, is that he's appealed to the hardest right constituency that exists in the country, and it's enough to keep him in power.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like I said, we had those couple of years of respite when he got ousted, and now he's back in. And again, just a reminder for everybody, because this often gets lost in the coverage. Netanyahu's purpose for this is completely self-serving, because he's probably going to go to jail if he's not the prime minister anymore.
That is correct. Well, maybe in Israel they have unlimited immunity as well.
I gotta say, I don't think that's the case.
You don't know that. You're speaking from a point of ignorance. You don't know what the folks over at the Knesset they'll do. You're fine. Don't worry. No, just do crimes forever. It's fine, bro. So look, it's Super Tuesday, and
it is Super Tuesday.
Let's see, how many races has Nikki Haley won today? 0. And sorry. But she did win one for the first time in D.C. She is the first woman to win a Republican primary. Hell yeah, Nikki Haley. Way to fucking break that glass ceiling, I guess.
There were, by the way, there were 2,000 voters in the D.C. Republican primary.
Hey, still counts, bro. Still counts. So she won. So, good for her. Haley beat the former president by nearly 30 points, garnering 62.9% of the votes in the district compared to Trump's 33.2%, and nabbing all 19 delegates. Trump went on his fake Twitter and said, I purposely stayed away from D.C., from the D.C. vote, because it's the swamp with very few delegates and no upside. Birdbrain spent all of her time, money, and effort there, which is a weird thing to say.
That's his name for her.
I know. It's just kind of fucked up and just unnecessary. He said, big numbers, complete destruction of every weak opponent, talking about Missouri and Idaho. Really big numbers will come on Super Tuesday. Also, and this is a very weird statement, I don't understand it, way up on Crooked Joe. Way up? Are you talking about delegate counts?
No, I think he's talking about just like the polls in general, because there were a couple polls that came out, like good polls that had him either leading or it was really close in a head-to-head matchup between him and Joe Biden. It pleases me to no end, even though the DC primary is completely insignificant. I love that it bothers him that she.
Oh yeah. But in fairness to him, he lost on purpose. He lost on purpose. Like
that sounds like somebody who is angry that he lost would say.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone had a friend that they played video games with when they were kids. When you would beat them, they'd be like, "Well, I wasn't trying," or I meant to do that. Right.
I meant to do that. I lost on purpose. Okay, buddy. Now the California primary is going on tonight.
Correct.
I don't think Trump really did much campaigning out west. So I assume that he's trying to lose that one on purpose too, right? Or here's an idea: people in D.C. were like, "I don't fuck with that guy. I like Nikki Haley more." So it's just hilarious. It doesn't mean anything. Obviously, Nikki Haley is not going to win the nomination.
I did want to talk about Nikki Haley for just 2 seconds on the show this week because it seems like more and more as the weeks go along that she is at the very least not going to endorse.
She did win a primary tonight. She did.
Oh, no shit, yeah?
She won Vermont.
They called it already? That's interesting.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's the fucking headline on the Washington Post. Haley blocks Trump's clean sweep with Vermont win.
Oh, it's very funny again. That's very funny again.
Oh, he's going to rage.
He's going to be very mad. It does seem like that Nikki Haley is positioning herself to either just not endorse Donald Trump, right? Like that. Like that's what it seems 100%. Like she's going to do. Well, you say that, but here's the problem. I just want everyone to prepare themselves for that inevitably happening. So she did an interview on Meet the Press with and she said basically they asked her about like the RNC pledge that she had to make, saying that she would support the eventual nominee no matter who it was. Mm-hmm. And they asked her if she still adhered to that. And she said, I have major concerns about Trump. I have more concerns about Biden. That's what she said in her answer. And then later on in the interview, I really wish that Kristen Welker had followed back up with her on this. She was asked, do you think that Trump will ignore the Constitution? And Nikki Haley took a long pause to consider that and said, I really don't know, actually. Like, I really couldn't say. I would have really liked for Kristen Welker to turn back around and be like, wait, but you said you had more concern earlier in this interview. You said you had more concerns about Joe Biden. And now you're telling me that you're worried that Donald Trump won't adhere to the Constitution. So you think Joe Biden also is not going to adhere to the Constitution? Is that what you're saying? Because that seems like a pretty big fucking problem to me. So all I'm telling everyone is do not be surprised when inevitably, when it's clear, when we get to the convention, Nikki Haley will absolutely endorse Donald Trump at the end of the day. And kiss the ring, just like everybody else, sans Chris Christie has. I'll give credit to Chris Christie at least that Chris Christie has not seen fit to bow down to the king.
I mean, here's the thing: Christie knows his political career is over.
Right.
What is he going to do? Right. He was either going to become president or he's going to be on TV. That's it. Right. Like. You're not going to be governor of a state anymore. You fucking forget that.
He should get a show on MSNBC and they call it Water Under the Bridge.
Yo, a guy died. Like, you can't call that show Water Under the Bridge. It's like, more like ambulance stopped on the bridge and the guy died in it. You heartless bastard, Brad. Yeah, like that guy's career is fucking toast. Like it's done. So he can just be like, oh, endorse Donald Trump.
Yeah, fuck that dude.
Yeah, eat my balls. Like I'm going back to Jersey. Like fuck you. Absolutely not. So, okay, Trump lost. Dude, he lost Vermont. Like,
that's very funny. Oh my god! And I cannot wait till he hyperfixates on that specific result tomorrow. Again, even though Vermont, in the grand scheme of things, completely insignificant, doesn't matter. Low number of delegates doesn't make a lick of difference. How embarrassed is New Hampshire right now? By the way,
yeah,
New Hampshire couldn't do the job for Haley, but their neighbors, the superior state of Vermont, could.
Absolutely. Well, like Vermont is it's libby lib. So I don't know, but my guess is the Vermont primary is an open primary. And Democrats are like, yeah, why don't we fuck this up? Like I would.
Vermont has a Republican governor. Like they can vote for a Republican.
Yeah,
that's probably why they voted for Haley. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would yeah, but like, how conservative is the governor of Vermont really?
Oh yeah, not very. Not very.
You can't be. I don't know if people know this, but Joe Biden swept the map. Swept the map. Done. It's OVAH, over. All right. So look, I hate to say this.
Do you?
We hardly knew her. Andy, I'm sorry. You won't have old Kirsten Sinema to kick around anymore. She decided that she's gonna take that long walk right out of the Senate because she is not going to run. She is retiring.
I have a quote from the video that she had that she gave on Twitter earlier tonight to announce this. Is it me? Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
That's correct. It was weird because she was asked to make. She demanded that steamed hams is what everybody wanted, and nobody did. They were all confused.
It's more of a Utica expression. So.
Utica expression. Yeah, she says, "quote Because I chose civility, understanding, listening, working together to get stuff done, I will leave the Senate at the end of the year. Compromise is a dirty word. We've arrived at the crossroad." And we choose anger and division. I believe in my approach, but it's not what America wants right now. You are fucking insufferable. I swear to God, you are insufferable.
The real reason that Kirsten Sinema left is because she looks at polling, and she is getting her ass beat by Ruben Gallegos, and so rather than take that L in November, she's gonna leave under a more high-minded, highfalutin reasoning because she was the compromise. She was working towards actually accomplishing things in the Senate. But you know what? Arizonans just don't want that right now in this partisan political divide.
She stood between she stood like Moses between the water of bipartisanship, trying to stave off hate and anger and bridge the gap of civility and understanding and listening. You did nothing. You did nothing in your time in Congress. You did nothing. You did nothing but obstruct. You helped no one. You got nothing done. You hurt people by your dire need of being the it girl, right? You and Joe Manchin. And now look at you. Both of you are out on your duffs, okay? Good. Get out of here. Nobody wants you here. We're sick of you. Like, it's great. I'm glad you're retiring. I wish you would stayed around to get your ass kicked in the against Ruben Gallego, but I
don't, because now this should pave the way towards a Gallego win, because he kicks ass, and he's running against probably Kari Lake, who just lost an election and has only doubled down on the crazy pills since then.
Yeah, she is.
Her and her soft lighting camera that is really weird.
I don't like Kari Lake. I find her. I'm
not surprised. You shouldn't.
It's funny. There is a running theory about Kari Lake that I love, is that she's actually part black, but she tries to deny it. Yeah. Like, if you look at pictures of Kari Lake, you're like, maybe. Like she seemed way cooler. Like, 'cause I think she was like a journalist or something, and she was like,
she was a news anchor.
Yeah, and she was like all about Obama for a while, and then she just like did this hard pivot to the right. Yeah, but yeah, people are like, let's see some of your family there, Carrie Lake. You sure are a little weird about like keeping that shit under wraps. So
I will never forget easily the most embarrassing thing that I've ever seen a politician do. I don't know if you remember this during the 2022 campaign when she was running for governor of Arizona and Trump was going to speak on her behalf. She actually posted a video on Twitter of her vacuuming a rug that had the presidential seal on it because she's like, oh, this is what you do to show respect to the president when he comes to visit you. And I'm just like, that is some fucking supplicant shit there.
And didn't he like not come or something like that too? Like,
oh no, he came. He endorsed her to the hilt, which is probably why she lost, or one of the reasons why she lost.
Yeah, she's nutty, man. She's nutty as fuck. Yeah, like here's a story. Is Carrie Lake passing as a white woman? I think it's awesome. I hope it's true. Like, tell us your history. Tell us. And then all the conservative white people is like, well, half black, I'm out of here. Like, no, thank you. It wasn't your crazy that got us away. We're racist. Next up, Biden doesn't think Trump will concede if he loses again. Look, this is a big deal to me. I don't know if it's a big deal to others, and I think a lot of people will take this as like, yeah, of course, like that's.
It's a very big deal to me that he came out and said it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times politicians are often like middle of the road to a fault, and they won't speak on things like this. But Joe Biden is like, no, I don't think that dude's going to concede. I think he'll do anything to win. He'll contest this. Good. Call it out right now. This is like when Trump is like, the only way I win or the only way I lose is if they cheat like 7 months before. Just start putting this shit out there. Yeah, he's going to contest it. He's going to contest it. He's going to say it as much as you can so that when he does, people go, see, Joe Biden was right. That's how you poison the well a little bit. You should.
There's a lot of lines actually in this piece. So this is part of a New Yorker piece that they did with him because basically they were just like, hey, like what's the tone like in the Biden White House? Are they worried about the election? That kind of stuff. The piece, by the way, is 14,000 words. So if you're going to read it, set aside some fucking time because that's
it's the New Yorker.
It's the New Yorker. So that's a lot of goddamn time. But a couple other things that he said in relation to this. He says that it seemed that the media had become numb to Trump's rhetoric and behavior, which I think is an important thing to say. You've seen a lot of people in the news talk about how, no, actually the media should be covering Trump more because to Jay's point, not enough people have been exposed to the fact that he's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Even more so than he was 8 years ago and 4 years ago.
He's far worse, dude. Like far worse.
And then he also had a banger line, which I saw getting some play, and I hope it gets more play. Quote regarding Donald Trump: "Losers who are losers are never graceful."
Look, the one way you can tell if somebody is intelligent, if they have their faculties, is when they can deliver a fucking dickish line. And Look, he definitely lost some speed off that fastball. No doubt about it since when he was vice president. No doubt. He's old. But he's still he's still relatively quick about shit like that. Like
there's nothing that will get under Donald Trump's skin more than calling him a fucking loser.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because it eats at him. Eats at his ego.
Yeah.
So keep doing it.
Yeah, like again, I like that he's saying this because again, politicians often are just like, I mean, I think he's probably going to understand, and he'll bow out gracefully. No, he won't, and call that shit out. Just call it out. He's not going to. Like he's not going to concede. I don't care if that dude loses by 1 billion votes. He's not going to concede. He's not. And frankly, Joe Biden should win 100-0. Like it shouldn't even be a question. But
like when he gets on the stump, assuming the Trump debates, because that is a real question at this point in time. But assuming like when he gets on the stump, like Joe Biden would go a long way to just casting Trump as a fucking loser. Be like, he lost in 2018. He lost in 2020. No matter what he says, he lost. I've been the fucking president for 4 years. He lost in 2022. The red wave never materialized. And he's going to fucking lose again because he is a loser. He lost in court. He keeps losing in court over and over and over again. How many times this guy fucking lost in court? I've lost count at so many fucking times. He is a loser.
You know what?
And he's going to make America a loser if you elect him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
He will make America a loser. And look, like that resonates with like shit kickers. Like, whoa. America's not a loser. You're the loser, right? Like we can't take it, right? We're like, we got to be the winners all the time. So yeah, no, that kind of shit resonates. That's a line that if you deliver that line properly, that's a line that hits the news and hits the news cycle, and people just like, fuck, Trump's gonna make America a loser. And it just keeps repeating, and then that just goes, everywhere. Look, the idea of them debating, I used to think, it's crazy. Of course they're going to debate. You know what?
What are norms and regular practices in this day and age, Jay?
Yeah, I've come to your side on that. Yeah, I think you're right. Like I don't think that's a
because again it serves Trump no benefit whatsoever, no matter what he purports in public, and no matter what he says in the stump. He's like, I want to debate Joe Biden tomorrow. No, you don't. You get your fucking teeth kicked in. You kidding me? You can't even string a fucking sentence together. He might be quiet. He might stutter every now and then, but he'll fucking run circles around you because you're an idiot who doesn't fucking do anything. Again, like if he were to debate Trump tomorrow, they would ask the Israel Gaza question, and Trump would have the same answer. Oh, if I were there, it would never happen. And again, like when that question does continue to get asked to Donald Trump, I'm begging the people asking the question to follow up with that. Like, don't let him just be like, oh, it wouldn't happen. Okay, cool. If you were there, it wouldn't happen. All right, whatever. But it is happening. So if you were in there now, what would you be doing?
Right.
Specifically? Yeah.
I'd call him up and say, knock it off. Right. Like that's what he said. Oh, I'd call Putin and be like, knock it off. You knock it off. Stop it. Like, all right, man. But they're not going to knock it off. Like, that's just not how life works. Like, you're not an all-powerful leader, and they just laugh at you. So, no, you're not going to make them do shit. I thought this was kind of interesting. I am going to frame this story in the same way that the media frames black people becoming Republicans. Right, that black people are fleeing the Democratic Party.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to say, I'm looking at the actual meat and potatoes of the story, and I'm not impressed. But I will let you.
That's why I picked the story. That's exactly why I picked it. Because I don't think it's that big of a deal either. But I'm going to frame it exactly like they do with black people. It's ridiculous. Donald Trump is losing white evangelicals to Joe Biden. Right, this is a Newsweek story. I'm surprised it wasn't. Donald Trump's being destroyed by Joe Biden. Right? Their headlines are terrible. A March 3rd poll from Fox News found Biden gaining support among white evangelical voters compared to previous polls. The most recent poll, which surveyed voters, found 28% of white evangelicals saying they'd vote for Biden if the election were held today. According to the poll, 68% of white evangelicals would support Trump. In October, a Fox poll found that only 23% would support Biden. So that's an increase of 5%, right? So if this was about black people supporting the Republican Party, it would be they're defecting. Yeah, they'd be defecting. Are there any black people left to vote for Democrats? And this is 5% of the people who were surveyed. This is actually not impressive. This doesn't mean anything. Like 5 more people answered the phone and were like, yeah, I like Jesus. And Biden seems cool. Whatever, bro. Can you please stop calling during dinner time? This is not a big deal. It really isn't. At the same time, I do think Trump is going to suffer with evangelicals a bit, but not enough that it's going to make any significant inroads into his numbers. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like I said, this story is a big nothing burger. It's clickbait. What the fuck happened to Newsweek?
I don't
They
know,
just write
man.
clickbait stories now.
Yeah, like,
but yeah,
I think Eichenwild left, and they were just like, I don't know, like we got no journalists working here, like we just don't have any journalists. It's really fucking weird. But the reason I picked the story is to point out you have to be very careful in the sort of headlines that you read, like so many black people are defecting, dude. There was a story this week, like it made it onto like CNN or something, and they're like showing this picture of all these black people hanging out with Donald Trump. It's like at a Christmas party or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, look at all these black people. It was just all black people and Donald Trump. It was made with AI.
Of course.
Right. And they were just like, this is not a real picture. This was made and distributed over like 1,000 times on like all these conservative websites and stuff like that. It's like, it's not real. Like, all black people are not defecting to the Republican Party. A significant number of black people are not defecting to the Republican Party. They're literally not. They're not. You know why?
All you need to know, all you need to know, is there are exponentially more white people who wear Blacks for Trump shirts than black people who wear Blacks for Trump shirts.
I saw a white guy wearing one that said
I
for Trump.
saw that too.
I recommend you go outside in your local city and you wear that and see if you can recruit other friends.
On a sandwich board, preferably, that you can walk around in.
Perhaps a man named Zeus will see you and get really upset. And you go on an adventure. But what more likely will happen is black people are going to kick the shit out of you and you deserve it. So, yeah.
I don't know, Jay. There were a couple of black people, and I use that term loosely because it was just people that happened to have black people in their profile pictures on Twitter who were very supportive of that guy.
Yeah, I saw that. They're like, you're speaking the truth. I'm like, us blacks really like this. I'm like, us blacks? Yep, that's definitely how black people talk. Us blacks. Or the infamous blacks rule as we spray paint that on someone's driveway. Blacks rule? I've never heard a black person yell blacks rule before. We rule.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that is exactly something a middle-aged white man would write pretending to be black. Blacks rule.
Holy shit.
Like we do, man. We totally rule. All right. So this week in Stupid, I will go first. Brad has not read my story. I have not read his story. We are working who can top who's crazy, basically what the fuck story. All right. This week in Stupid, God told me to do it. Lauren Boebert says a message from God spurred her to move districts in 2024, which obviously makes sense.
I just want to point out that we had a trifecta of Lauren Boebert stories to pick from this week. And Jay chose correctly. This is the right one to choose.
Yeah,
I will say.
Like she has two quotes here. One of them said, unironically, "I'm not dumb." Agree to disagree. I knew all the attacks would come my way, but I talked to God. I asked, quote, "How do I address this? Will this be perceived that I'm not fighting?" And God said, "Do you have more faith in your ability to fight or my ability to open a door?" And then I said, "God, why are you talking like the Sphinx? This is weird." I find it amazing.
I want to imagine when conservatives hear the voice of God that it's James Earl Jones. I don't know why I feel like that it is, but I feel like that's
it should be James Earl
that's
Jones.
what they think it is. Yeah.
This is CNN. God, is that you? No, just stupid.
Yeah, how did God deliver this message? I'm curious. Did she just hear it in her mind's eye? Did he leave a note under her pillow? Did he leave did he leave her a voicemail? Like what happened here exactly? How exactly did God? How exactly are you able to quote God in this speech here?
I got to imagine it's like an email. right? The text. God would text. Like it's instant, right? God's a man of speed. Right?
God at heaven.org, I guess.
Yeah. God still has a Hotmail account. He's old school. He's super old school. Right? His son is like, get a Gmail account. He's like, but I've had this one for so long.
I've been on Netspace forever.
Yeah, I assume God is like an old Jewish man. Because why wouldn't he be? Look, I don't get the idea of like God like literally spoke to me. I could see you be like, well, you know, I feel like I saw a sign from God. Like that makes sense in the sort of what I would refer to as like silly metaphysical nonsense that you believe. But like he talked to you. God is like busy not giving food to people dying in Africa, but he decided to go down to Rifle, Colorado and was like, you should move districts, Lauren. Go to another district. Whereas you have a plus 29 Republican district. Like why? Why would he do that? That seems weird. It feels like he's got more pressing issues, but maybe he spends so much time talking to bumbling dumb fucks like you about what district to go in and place third in, by the way, if you're lucky, than helping people. It seems weird. Why doesn't God just go, hey, you should probably help the poor? Like, why isn't he doing that?
I mean, you have created a plausible explanation as to why God ignores the actual needy. Congratulations. Yeah. You might have taken a step to prove the existence of God, even though you didn't intend to. Because he's too busy fucking around with Lauren Boebert for some reason.
Yeah. I love that. I asked God and he talked back. That's your insane brain. You're dumb. Yeah. No, I assume God sends messages via carrier pigeon or something. I don't know. All right. By the way, did God tell you to jerk that guy off during the Beetlejuice performance or no? I was wondering.
Why can't I find primary results for her? By the way, like I'm looking because Colorado's tonight. I'm looking to see how she's doing. I don't see anything.
Not well. She'll run as an independent.
Fantastic.
All right, your story is up, sir.
I do. So, we talked a couple weeks ago how our former governor, Larry Hogan, has decided out of the blue to run for Senate in the open seat that Ben Cardin is leaving behind when he retires at the end of this term. And you may be wondering why Larry Hogan decided to run for the Senate. And Larry Hogan said it was because of Donald Trump tanking the Senate bipartisan border bill. That's why he decided to get in the race. According to an interview that he had with Luke Russert, he said, quote, I had never given any consideration to this race. I said 100 times, I didn't aspire to become a senator. I didn't need a job. I wasn't looking for another title. But he had a change of heart when he saw a real solution to secure the border and provide funding for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, something that most Republican senators had said was all of those things were important, and they were told to vote against what they believed in when the package failed in the Senate. I have to remind you that Larry Hogan is running for a seat. It's currently being held by a Democrat and someone who voted in favor of the bipartisan border bill that Larry Hogan is really mad about. Jay, make it make sense.
I can't. Larry Hogan is a joke. This is ridiculous. Yeah, why don't you run for president and try to stop the guy who fucked it up? Not a person who, that's dumb. Look, you're not running for president because you're scared you're going to lose. And you would. What it always continues to amaze me about these guys is that they don't want to admit a fundamental truth. Your party, as far as the voters, are fucked up. And it's not you, it's them. You keep not running for president against this guy or not pushing hard against this guy because your voters are fucked up. That's the number one reason. I saw a clip of who's the guy who ran with Paul Ryan. And he's like, they're like, oh, well, Paul, you seem, tan, ready, rested. Like, you're good to go, right? Like, why don't you run for president? Oh, no, I'm not going to run for president. Because I don't think that Donald Trump is a good candidate for president. I don't think he's qualified. And in my party, that means I can't win like 50% of the people. That's not a Donald Trump issue. Your party is fucked up, dude. Like, he is a symptom of a metastasized issue inside the party. It has now affected all of the voters. They're the problem. You guys have been serving them garbage for fucking decades. And then you got outplayed by a garbage man who was like, this is what I do. You guys were all fucking fancy guys in suits, and he came in there and he sold them a bunch of fucking more delicious garbage. And they were like, this is the best garbage we've ever had. And they've been primed to eat garbage. And now you're pretending like you don't know why they like garbage. That's your fault. You did it. You fucked them up. You gave them the garbage to start with. He just gave them the garbage they like this week, a more extreme version of it. So it to me, Hogan and any of these senators and any of these guys who are like, oh, I'm not going to run, I'm scared, blah, 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 Trump's got the party. He has it because you fuckers serve the party up on a silver platter to him. You made them
turns out demonizing your opponents incessantly over mundane shit, probably not a great strategy to keep your voters sane.
Right. And giving them all of this conspiratorial bullshit and all of that stuff, dumping that. Right. Look, Trump came on the scene with the birther shit, but they were already primed for that shit, man. They were ready for it. You have been feeding them. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have been killing people for years. You gave them all the fucking framework to believe in nonsense for decades. I saw a video, and I've seen it before, but I like watching it because it's I think it's a very good video. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's Tom Hanks talking about the Tulsa Massacre. Have you ever seen that video? Where he's just like,
I don't know that I have.
It's a really good video. One, just as a side note, Tom Hanks is the greatest white person that's ever lived, right? Like, he is. He's just a good white person.
How dare you? Your co-host is sitting right here.
Sorry, you're no Tom Hanks. I'm sorry. Did you play Forrest Gump? Get out of here. He's beloved, right? Everybody loves Tom Hanks. Like, universally, the only thing he ever fucked up is he's got that douchebag son, Chaz Hayes, who's just ridiculous, right? But he's also entertainingly stupid. But Tom Hanks is just a beloved person, right? And I have a point here. That video of him talking about the Tulsa Massacre, right? He's not talking about, like, he's not really talking about politics. He's just talking about education. And he goes, listen, I'm reading in the New York Times. It's like, here's the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre. And he goes, what the hell's the Tulsa Massacre? I've never heard of this. He's like, how do I not know about something that happened a few years before my dad was born? Like, this is insane. Why do I not know this history? And then he goes, then I looked this stuff up. And he goes, and I found out, and he says, like, white people did this to these black people for no fucking reason. And he's like, listen, I learned about Custer's Last Stand, and I learned about all this stuff. He's like, when I was young, it would have changed my worldview if I knew that this happened. He's like, and then I realized as I'm reading this, that somebody made a concerted effort to hide this information from kids, right? And to not teach them about American history because it involves white people doing terrible shit to black people, right? And all of that is correct. And every comment underneath of it was, Tom Hanks is a pedophile.
Thanks, Q.
Yeah. Tom Hanks is making a very valid point. A valid point that white people are robbed of knowledge about American history. You are robbed of it because of racism and stuff like that and bigotry, by the way, right? Most people didn't know what and I'll tell you, this is no bullshit. Most people outside of black folks, and not even a lot of black folks knew about it. That's how poorly represented that story is. Most people in the last 5 to 6 years didn't know about the Tulsa massacre, except for it's in the opening scene of an HBO show called Watchmen. And people were like, what the fuck is this story? And then people were like, oh shit, that's the Tulsa massacre. And they found out about it. That's how a lot of mainstream white people learned about it.
I'll give you another one, because I think I talked about this on the show before. Until I met you and Micah and Terrence and started to become more politically active, I'd never heard of Juneteenth. Ever. Like I'd never even fucking heard the term.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah. Like, what, teenth? That's not a number. What are you guys talking about? It's a weird month, right? But like that exposure matters, right? And so he's making this point, and it's a valid point. But I'm not even I bring that up just because he's making this point. But that's not even the point of the story. The point is Republicans have been fed so much garbage that they just believe, oh, Tom Hanks is a pedophile because of the QAnon shit. Because you prime them to believe this shit. So I'm not impressed when Larry Hogan is like, oh, I'm going to run to save the soul of the party. You primed it for garbage. Now, maybe Larry Hogan didn't, right? Because Larry Hogan, it wasn't like a conspiratorial kind of Republican. But you side in a party that fills these people's heads with bullshit and garbage. Now they think Tom Hanks is a pedophile because they heard it in some made-up bullshit. And they just believe it. They just believe it.
Here's the tragedy, and I understand your lament. Not that you're necessarily lamenting, because who gives a fuck about Republicans? But the tragedy is if you could send like Paul Ryan and Evan Cantor and Kevin McCarthy and Mitt Romney and all of these people, if you could send them back in time, knowing what they know now, knowing what has happened, and knowing what will come. If they demonize the Democrats and make it seem like liberals are fucking evil, they'd still do the same shit all over again.
They would.
In a heartbeat, without even thinking about it.
Because it gives them power. It gives them power, as temporary as it may be, especially for Eric Cantor. Fuck it. I'm one of the young guns. Get the fuck out of here. All those guys are gone, by the way, which is hilarious. But it gives them power. It gives them that temporary power, and they need it. But you are, much like the Rashida Tlaib thing, you are winding people up and then you are just letting them go. And this is where you are. I mean, look, when Trump loses in November, and I hope that he does, and I think that he does, when he loses, I don't know what that party is going to look like.
Well, that's one of the great, really and again, that's one of the great ironies, though. One of the great ironies is that they were ready to have that reckoning in 2016.
They were.
Because they were sure that he was going to lose. And they were like, holy shit, like we need to go back to the drawing board. We've gotten our clocks clean for 3 straight elections. Obviously, the approach that we're taking is not working. We need to find a new direction. And then he won. And ironically, that was the worst thing that could have ever happened to the Republican Party writ large.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I'm not impressed by these people like Larry Hogan, stuff like that. Your party is fucked up, and it's because of you. It is. You can't prime. You can't. I know Trump invented the term. You can't prime the pump, right? I can't believe you said that out loud. It's insane. It's like you're just saying things that are just 100% factually insane, right? You can't prime that constituency to believe nonsense and then be shocked that they do. Like, I don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for the Republican Party. I kind of don't feel sorry for Republican voters at this point either, because you could learn about shit. You could do other things. You have other choices. But at the same time, like, I do kind of feel sorry for them because they are stuck in this weird situation where learning shit, people just double down on the crazy. You're like, hey, actually, I read up on the Trump thing, and turns out like what he said isn't true. And they're like, oh, well, did you get the vaccine? Yeah, I got the vaccine. Oh, that affected your brain. That's you're crazy now. Like, who cares? Like, they just figure out a way, right? And look, I got to do it, and you already know where it's going, Brad. The reason why they're so primed to believe make believe is because they're deeply religious.
Yep.
And it's not based in facts. It's not. It's based in faith. It's based in faith. That's it.
Since you evoked it, I think the best way to put a bow on this is just to evoke Forrest Gump. Stupid is, Jay, as stupid does.
Yeah. There you go. All right. That is it for us. It's a perfect way to end it. I can't believe she won Vermont. That's wild. He lost to her in Vermont. That's fucking crazy. All right. That's it for us. We will be back next week where you freeloaders will
Actually,
not
wait.
get the whole show.
We might not be back next week because I won't be in town. So.
Oh, that's right. So enjoy. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what Brad decides he wants to do. All right. So we will see you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.